Welcome to the Whole Enchilada, a community of high achievers that fight the status quo, rebel against mediocrity, and make life happen. Let's go. Hey, Enchilada Nation, super excited about our opportunity to chat today. It's a little bit of a different format, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to it in your car as a normal podcast, but we're doing this a little bit as an interview style. It's been incredible to see the response to the Whole Enchilada community over season 1. We're into season 2 right now, and the reach of our message has gone way farther than I anticipated, with listens all over the country and beyond those borders, even in multiple countries, people listening to the message of the Whole Enchilada, which resonates and excites me, because my passion around this is catching fire, which is really exciting to me as this community is coming together. So I thought it would be a great opportunity where a lot of people came in sideways and are catching up somewhere in the middle of the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2, to kind of slow down for a minute and recapture what the whole idea is and what the purpose is and what the vision is of the Whole Enchilada. So today I have a special guest on with me, my good friend, DJ Bowlerjack. DJ, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's great.
Yeah, we're super excited. So one thing you don't know is DJ's actually been part of the Enchilada community for a while, but he's been on the other side of the camera, right? So a lot of the ideas of our social media, our messaging, everything creative, which I am not, DJ is. So he's a great partner with me on growing the Whole Enchilada and taking it to the next level. And one thing that excited me in my conversation with DJ and getting him involved is he instantly caught the vision of what this community is about, and just really got excited about it, and instead noticed some other opportunities to come help us grow the Enchilada Nation, which I'm super excited about. So DJ, I'm going to let you drive conversation a little bit today, and let's connect with our people.
Well, hey, again, thanks for inviting me. This is awesome. Again, I'm on the other side of things. So now I'm in front of the camera and I get to talk to you. We get to talk the Whole Enchilada. So let's kick things off. I think a lot of people want to know, from what we've seen on comments, people want to know, I guess, where you came up with the idea of the Whole Enchilada and why.
Yeah, great question. It's actually, even though, we're a little under a year old as actually the Whole Enchilada in a podcast format, this is something my brother and I, who's my business partner, Matt Green, he and I were talking about this several years ago. And every time we got together to talk about our business strategy and our bigger vision, and a lot of our listeners know that I've got multiple companies within our world. But this has been on the horizon for years and years and years, because both Matt and I, as we're pursuing these big opportunities within our organizations and creating opportunities for people, we never wanted to lose sight of life is not about just business, right? And unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of the people that are put on pedestals are crushing it in one aspect of their life. But if you really dig into it, there's a lot of other aspects of their life that are crumbling. And I didn't feel like there was a good resource or community that said, hey, you know what? You can succeed in multiple aspects at the same time. You don't have to over dedicate to one and be okay with mediocrity or even being in shambles in other areas of your world.
Well, it's really easy to get sucked into one thing and forget about everything else, like work with your family, and then they kind of struggle while you're focused so much on work. So talk about that work and life balance. That's what we talk about a lot of.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. And one thing I've been very clear with our listeners from day one is this is in no way a platform of a podcast of me inviting our people into the community to say, look what I've done, because this is a journey I'm personally on right now, right? I will be the first to admit there have been times in my career where I've become overly hyper focused on building my businesses and had blinders on to that one success, determined to win in that element, only to turn around and see other parts of my life were actually in shambles and things that were actually more important to me than my actual businesses. And a lot of us fall into that trap, and it's not something we do on purpose of saying, I'm going to purposely neglect these other things because I'm overly committed to this goal. It's just we get so hyper focused on winning in that one area that luckily for me, I saw it in time that I could say, I can save these other pieces of my world. I can get these things back in shape. I think where our listeners are resonating with me on this is we're in this together. Mm-hmm. It's not a follow the path I've taken. It's come with me and create the path with me.
Absolutely. And I think it's a lot, that path is I'm on that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are. And so they're really wanting to know what their next step can be and how they can be successful. So, you talked a lot about success. You talked a lot about organizing and strategizing your next step for your life, whether it is work or for it's your family. Maybe it's, trips. I mean, everything. Yeah. We cover a broad horizon of things, but we also want to talk about, how do you personally balance your work and life? Because, a lot of people do struggle with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that I think you have to is a realistic piece. You can't look at all aspects of life and give everything equal amount of energy at any given time, right? There's times you have to prioritize one thing over another, but you have to be able to swing back in an appropriate amount of time that you can still catch the other thing. I heard an analogy once that I really loved that resonated with me we talk about juggling a lot of things. And we hear that analogy all the time, like, oh, he's juggling so many things. Well, one thing we got to realize, and this analogy that was given to me, is some of those balls that you're juggling are made of rubber and some of them are made of glass. Mm-hmm. Meaning if you drop a rubber ball, it bounces, it comes back up and you can pick it right back up into the rotation of things. But if you drop a glass ball, when it hits the ground, it shatters and it's done. There is no getting it back into the rotation. And so I think this idea of balance is getting clarity on your personal non-negotiables. One thing I talk a lot about with our community is the idea of that time blocking piece. And I know what my personal non-negotiables are. My family is my number one personal non-negotiable, followed up by my health and fitness and my personal sanity, right? And those are the things that get on my calendar first. Then all other things business find their way to my calendar. And then I prioritize from there.
And, organizing, being organized is a huge part of being successful and just having that like mental health.
Yep.
Obviously it's fall, the weather's becoming a little bit gloomier.
Yeah.
How can people out there kind of prepare themselves for that doom and gloom part of fall and winter? And also obviously podcasts, listening to music, things like that, people can listen to the Whole Enchilada during these times of the year.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm just like everybody else, right? There's days when frankly, I don't want to get out of bed. It's like, it's particularly this time of year when I like to sleep with the windows open and I like it cold because I like cuddling up in my bed, but it makes it a lot harder to get out of bed to do the things that I need to do. So I think there's quick fixes to energy, which I hope the Whole Enchilada podcast helps with some of that. Some of it's music, things like that. I know my triggers to push my energy, but those are quick fixes. I think the bigger fix is if you don't have clarity on what it is you're trying to accomplish in life, and then you have to see each day as an opportunity to progress you towards that mission vision. If you don't have clarity on that, then it's easy to give away a day, right? Yeah. Then it's easy to give away 2 days. Then it's easy to give away a week, right? And then we start stacking these giveaways because we're not overly committed to where we're going. If we're overly committed to what we're trying to accomplish in life and that life balance, then giving away a day means one less day that I'm away from that. And I would actually argue, now that I said that, it's not a day trade for a day. It's giving away today in progress actually impacts me reaching that goal in a much bigger time frame than a 24-hour period that I just gave away, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, and you started this podcast, season 1, huge success. You talked about it. We were really excited about it. And, since being here, I've been able to see it develop a little bit. And, now we're kicking off season 2.
Yep.
I guess, what is the new message, if any, that you want to portray and show to your followers and your viewers in this new season? Because it's kind of a fresh start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually been interesting is I've been seeing this catch fire, seeing our community grow. I've been doing some research on some other podcasts and how they continue to grow and things like that. You and I have actually done some of that together. And it's been interesting. Some of the people I've talked to that have excelled in the podcast world have actually told me we have the wrong model. And what I mean by that is they're saying, hey, you're too broad in the things you're talking about. The best podcasts in the world are niche podcasts. Mm-hmm. We only talk about one thing. And so that's been the advice I've been getting from people is hey, you're too broad of topics, pick a topic, which 100% goes against the whole idea of the Whole Enchilada, right? The Whole Enchilada is we're covering all things important in growing life. And it caused me to pause for a minute and say, am I too broad in my message? But the responses we're getting from people is the opposite to me. So the people that know me know that it's not by any surprise that I'm going to break the model and try to do things differently, because I think differently. I think outside the box. But the goal is the same. The thing that I would say is going to change about season 2 is the next level of guests that we'll be bringing into the conversation. Is we're getting a bigger reputation, a bigger followership, more people involved in the community. It's interesting who's now reaching out to us that want to participate and be guests on the show and share in the conversation. And not only do they want to be guests on the show and sharing their knowledge, they're excited to become part of the community, which to me says we're doing something right. They're not just wanting to come in to promote their own product, their own business, but they're resonating with the message.
I mean, we've already had some fun guests already, and moving forward, I guess, you've had a lot of entrepreneurs. We've had a lot of businessmen and women, a lot of real estate. I mean, we've had a number of different people on. Are you trying to broaden, or like what kind of guests can people expect to see throughout the rest of season 2?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, it's interesting as we make this progress. I mean, we're naturally going to connect with that entrepreneur, people that are high achievers, right? That's who we're going to resonate with. I'm very realistic to realize that our message is not going to resonate with everybody. But that's naturally who we're going to resonate with. And I think that's who we're going to attract as guests. My commitment to the community is anybody that we bring on as a guest I'm going to make sure that the message that they want to bring to the table is in alignment with the mission. Because the minute we start bringing guests on that aren't in alignment with the whole enchilada, and maybe they're crushing one area of their life, but they have no desire to fix other areas of their life, not that anyone has to be perfect, because I'm as far from perfect as you can get. But if someone's not in line with the message, then I've violated the trust of our community, right? And so I'll commit to the community and bringing in guests that are in line with the message, and also making sure that whatever message or focus that conversation goes, because our stuff's unscripted, right? We talk about where the conversation goes in the moment, but making sure that we're tying that back into the overall message of the community.
And it's really important to highlight pieces of the community that maybe don't get a lot of attention. And I noticed that you do a lot of that. You try to talk to people that they have their own niche, if you will. They've had their own success in one area that not a lot of people maybe understand or are well educated in.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about interviewing these people? Because obviously there's an education part of it for you as well. Not only are they're spewing out some of the information that they know and what makes them successful, but what is your favorite part in receiving that information?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that, because again, this is like the people that are listening to this on the podcast, which I think the majority of the people are listening to this while they're driving, they're working out, they're on the move, so they can hear the tonation in our voices, but they can't see the reaction. The people that are watching on YouTube see those moments in every interview where they see me get my aha, just like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant what you just said. And I'm sitting there writing notes, because for the initial conversation, honestly, is for me. Right? It's because I'm on this journey. I'm interviewing these people for me. And frankly, if I was a selfish person, I could have the interview and end it there and keep all those nuggets for me. But the two things I love about my commitment to the whole enchilada community is, one, is that it keeps me committed to a schedule of a guest a week, right? It's one of these powerful conversations a week, because I owe it to the community. But realistically, that initial win is mine, right? In that moment, because for season 2, even though we're just releasing season 2 episodes now, we've already had several of the conversations, and I'm already incorporating some of the nuggets into my own world. Yeah. And unfortunately, just because of editing and promotion and things like that, our listeners are always getting a few weeks behind me. So I get the biggest win, right? I get it early.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then that's the nice thing about the whole enchilada is that, you can go back to episode 1 and you don't need to watch it from beginning to end to understand what's going on. A lot of podcasts do that. They have to watch episode 1, and you have to go through at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on to understand what happened in episode 20. You don't have to do that with this podcast. You can start anywhere you want, learn, enjoy, and hopefully use that advice that was discussed in that podcast, towards your life and your goals and what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things we've been committed to is in organizing our episodes is we give them all an episode number. And we're also trying to be very clear in the title of what the topic's about, right? Because we don't want people to see a topic that may be enticing or sound cool or sexy, but there's no clarity on what it's about. Because my intent is we're building a library, right? And you'll even hear me in some of the episodes say, oh, that reminds me of the relationship or the relationship episode 18 in season 1. And that could trigger someone to be like, oh yeah, well, that resonated with me. Let me go back and listen to episode 18 in season 1 around relationships, right? And so we're purposely trying to build it in a library, and not that I love the sound of my own voice, because not only do I dislike the sound of my own voice, but also I listen to my podcast on like two times speed. So the only thing worse than listening to your own voice is listening to your own voice on faster speeds. But I go back and listen to some of the episodes where I'm like, oh my gosh, what did he say about this? Oh, when I interviewed Rusty, she talked about this. Let me go back and listen to that again. Like, I'm using it as my own personal library of resource, which is a win in itself. It's not the long-term purpose of it, but that I'm using it as a library.
Trust me, it's weird to listen to your own voice. I do the same thing. I've turned a lot of other people out there to hate the sound of their own voice.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of use this podcast as well as a platform for other people as well. It's not only a platform for you to have fun and learn from other people, but it's also a platform for businesses and entrepreneurs that want to get their message out too.
Yeah.
That's got to be, I mean, that's pretty rewarding, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is where we're starting to get some momentum. Just this week I had a couple of people that are very much in alignment with our community reach out about a book they're launching and things like that, where they're saying, hey, I've been listening to the podcast. I'm very much in alignment. And I said, instead of me just saying, oh yeah, let's get on, is I say, hey, we'll send me what the book's about. Let me learn a little bit about it. And even this week I've said yes, and I've said no, like, hey, let me learn more about the book, or I'll wait to read the book, or things like that, to kind of get a better understanding if it's not in alignment. But yeah, I think it's a great platform for other people to get their word out. And even though I tend to contribute to the conversation, each episode isn't about me and my thoughts around it. It's me bringing in a guest that's bringing their value to the conversation.
And I think that, the important thing is now, especially after the whole COVID-19 thing and what everyone went through, businesses, whether you were real estate, I mean, everyone struggled during that time period.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of gives them a fun way to rejuvenate their attitude and their, the effort that they want to push forward onto their jobs. And they get some advice while they're at it too. And it's just a fun way to also, we want to use this as a community. This is TWE, the Whole Enchilada. You want to use this as a way for people to interact with each other, not just a podcast, but a way for people to connect. Correct?
Absolutely right. I mean, you bring up a couple really good points there. I mean, with COVID, it was a huge shift in the way people operated in the world, right? No matter what your political stance or views is on COVID, the world changed in how we operate, right? And a lot of us went from I'm gung ho, crushing it, working, dozens of hours a week or whatever it is, to almost being secluded and in quarantine and at home. And I built, like, the first week of quarantine, I built some garden boxes that have been on the horizon for a long time. It just caused me to do some of those things, right? And so we talk about things going back to normal. What I would hope happens with our community, and why I think this message is timely, is why the way we operated before, is that ideal for you? Is that how you really want your life to look? And as the world's opening back up and we're making the shift, this is the perfect time to say, normal as we knew it is gone, regardless, right? Even if we try to recreate it, it's like, let's decide together, what does the perfect life look like? We get one life to live, every single one of us. And why don't we create it the way we want it to look, right? And that doesn't mean that we should just become hippies and live in a van down by the river either. Like, we want to contribute, but it's each of us defining what does the perfect balanced life look, and not a balance of mediocrity, but a balance where I'm giving everything that's important to me equal energy and effort, and excelling to the level I want to excel in that area.
Absolutely. And like, in that way you can, this is a way to do that, to kind of help bring people in and create a network, a nation, as well as an elite group of people that can learn from each other and get through those hard times. And I think that we're all excited. I mean, we're all really excited for what's to come.
Well, yeah, I think you bring up a great point. One of the things I'm most excited about rolling into season 2 is there's different levels to our community, right? I mean, I started every episode, hey, Enchilada Nation. So the nation, Enchilada Nation is the broadest range of our community. That's where people are connecting with us, where they're listening to our podcast, they're following us on social media, they're wanting to be a part of the community in an essence of what can I get from the community, right? The next level is those people that have actually taken the step to join the network, the Enchilada Network, which is then they're going to our website and saying, hey, I want to be part of the network. And they're leaning into some of our other value add pieces. And then over time, there's going to be a group out of the network that becomes part of the Enchilada Elite group, that's the group where we're going to be doing those private masterminds and things like that. So I'm really excited to as we've been growing the Enchilada Nation, to see who's stepping outside of the nation and saying, hey, I don't only want to receive the information, how do I get involved in making a contribution to because I can't do this on my own, right? Yeah. That there's no physical way for me to make the contribution to the world through this platform on my own. I need to find other people that are equally as committed to progressing it forward, right? Yeah. And every level, I would love to have everybody at any of those levels, right? It's the simplest is the nation. You're getting the information when you want to get it. But one of the things I'm on a quest for is who wants to get to the next level where I can put even a little bit more of my time and energy into that group.
And that means ambassadors. That means people that are more active with us on social media. That means people that are actively maybe just simply reaching out and commenting things. And that's just a whole different level of enjoyment of the podcast, but also almost like a membership of part of the squad.
Yep.
And that's what we want. We want everyone to be part of that.
Yep.
And then of course the elites are a totally different level. And we encourage people, listen to the podcast, reach out to us about whether you want to be a part of the elites, part of the network, because we'd love to talk to you and we'd love to have you be a part of that family.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's as simple as go to enchiladanation.com, click on join the community, and we'll reach out to you from there and let you know how to get involved. And not that it's going to be a bunch of blast emails, things like that. I'm one of the people I'm hesitant to join things because I'm like, I don't want to be spammed. This is purely like, if you want to get involved, let's get involved and let's play.
Absolutely. And plus you get, some of you might get a really cool swag like this.
Yeah, let's swag it up.
It's an awesome community. I can personally tell you that I love being a part of it. I love being a part of this team, Marcus and the whole Enchilada. It's a fun podcast and there's some amazing guests coming up, and obviously you're excited and so am I.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
well, let's wrap it up there, Adam.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you everyone for plugging in. Really excited. Hopefully that reconnected you with the mission vision, or if you didn't know it, maybe now you have a new respect and energy around what we're doing. And I can't end the episode without saying my tagline, right? Go live life on your terms. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.